Welcome back. This is another best practices video. I'm Jamie Velasquez Spady, and today we're going to look at third grade multiplication and division problem solving. Memory, what's that? Notice the two photos. How are they alike? How are they different? I notice two little kids playing memory. One has the cards scattered all over the floor, and the other seems to have a more organized way of having the cards in rows and columns to help them remember where the cards might be. Now, in this unit, we are not asking students to memorize anything. Instead, we're going to use patterns and strategies that they've built in the past to problem solve multiplication and division. In this unit, multiplication and division problem solving, students will be solving multiplication and division problems using efficient strategies, using the relationship between multiplication and division to determine an unknown factor in an equation, and using symbols or a letter to represent the unknown whole number in a multiplication or division equation. These learning goals come from the parent letter in STEMscopes. Take a look at what student learning might look like in a classroom during this unit. In the first video, you see students using concrete models to create equal groups. They're then connecting those concrete models to a representation with their drawing and then to the equations. You see both multiplication and related division facts. In the second video, students made an array concretely and then again represented it on their whiteboard or in their journals and connected it to an equation. Students are also going to be problem solving different scenarios where they are having to decide which operation to use and making the connection again between multiplication and division. And lastly, students are going to use previously learned benchmarks with multiples of 10 and 100 to also solve problems including multiplication and division within those limits. Throughout this unit, students will be really demonstrating MTRs 2, 5, and 7. Here are some potential discussion questions that could be used to hear students talking about their learning in the classroom. These questions come from STEMscopes in the math chat cards. How are models helpful? What did you notice about the models you built? How are division models helpful? Which model do you prefer for representing division problems? Explain why. Notice that these questions are open-ended and really give students a chance to explain why their models are helpful and how they work for multiplication or division. Here are some important vocabulary words for this unit. These vocabulary words and their definitions come from the parent letter from STEMscopes. Array, dividend, divisor, factor, quotient, product, area model. It's really important that we are precise with our mathematical language as we explain the connections between multiplication and division, and students really understand the actions in the problems and which piece they're representing by what part of their equations. There will be many opportunities for students to demonstrate their knowledge of multiplication and division problem solving throughout the unit. Here are a few examples. Show what you knows, explores that are in their student journals, decide and defend, fluency builder activities, and a sample item from a possible assessment. These are questions that you could ask students to gauge their understanding throughout the unit. These questions come from STEMscopes.com. You can get there by clicking on any of the linked benchmarks in our instructional guides. Our first question says, how does the distributive property help you solve for facts you might not know? This is really tapping into students using strategies learned from previous units to solve multiplication and division problems. How does the parentheses change the model when using the associative property? This is really important for students to be able to apply their understanding of properties of multiplication in order to problem solve with multiplication and division. What do you notice about the models made when you represent 4 times 6 and 6 times 4? This is going back to the models and having students relate and prove that the product does not change when the order of the factor changes. And use the distributive property to solve 9 times 12. This is giving students an opportunity to model and solve using that distributive property. In the parent letter, there are some choices of engaging tasks or activities that you could do at home with your child. This one is called sharing food. You could use food items or really any items at home. Make sure that the total number of items that you're giving to your child can be evenly distributed. Help your child explore how to share the food equally with family members. You could ask, how many goldfish will each person in our family get if we all get the same number? You can even extend and say, what if grandma or the next door neighbor came over? Now, how many would each person get? So, this is a fun way to bring division into your home. Thank you for joining me. I hope you are feeling full of knowledge about multiplication and division problem solving. We'll see you next time.